I would contend that if you look at the R2P criteria, ultimately after all the other means are being used, and while these other means are in use diplomatically and so on, piles of bodies are still mounting. But ultimately, when we actually go to the use of force, the question is the political will there to actually implement that, to actually send the troops into the field under this criteria? And I would contend that Darfur, although there before it was a UN concept that I believe is moving into a doctrinal base, Darfur would have been an excellent example of the use of force under that criteria. And the next phase is, how do we get them back to a state of normalcy? What protection do they require? And the like. And the question there is, can we, in fact, continue to count on a regional capability to do that, or should we not be participatory in that effort? And I think that's the debate that's going on right now regarding the UN and the UN taking over from the African Union. I would like to contend that in order to operationalize, I think that's an excellent term, the R2P, the international community not only needs new instruments, new lexicons of mandates and terminologies in order to give the orders required to implement this. And I give the example, as I have, of using old-time words or verbs to explain new conditions and finding them very wanting. I spent my life in NATO in the classic warfare scenarios with action verbs of to attack, defend, withdraw, bypass, only to find myself in 1993 with a mandate which essentially said establish an atmosphere of security. So what does establish mean? What are the parameters of that? How far does that go? Does it include defending the nation against a third party as you're demobilizing? And what is an atmosphere of security?
Now, that is a very personal story, but the point of the personal story is that behind the responsibility to protect, behind the rhetoric, behind all these global slogans, there is a very, very human set of interactions, very human set of behaviors, whether you are a human being at the receiving end of the violence, or whether you're a human being in the vast international systems and institutions of the world trying to do the right thing or trying to find your way through all that. I think my main lesson, from these experiences was I suddenly became an expert at hearing all the excuses why one should not do anything about it. And I made a list of that, jotting on the plane when I was getting to London. And there are sort of 6 reasons and 7 reasons for all the things that I was told when I came to London, Paris, Washington, and many places I went to when I was the UN coordinator in Sudan. And I said what was going on in Darfur was terrible and we had to do something about it. And why is it that the Security Council had not discussed Sudan for 4 or 5 years beforehand, even though this was Africa's longest running conflict and all the rest of it. And everywhere I was told, and that included Paris, and that included London, and that included Oslo, and all the rest of it. And the reason I mention these capitals is for a reason will become clear in a minute. And I was told, not now, we have to sort out the north-south business, and then we'll turn to Darfur. And meanwhile, the people of Darfur had to suffer.
So we've got the United States not accepting the International Court. We've got this feeble kind of genuflection towards the concept of the responsibility to protect. But, as has been said, we've got the test case of Darfur. And they just didn't care enough. I mean, Britain has huffed and puffed about it, and we've had a succession of senior-level ministerial visits. But 2 million people have been ethnically cleansed off their lands by violence, killing and rape, systematically and deliberately. And 300,000 or more have been killed, and it's going on and on. And you could well say it's a successful ethnic cleanse. They're all moved. Heaven knows what's to become of them. They're all in camps. Women go out to get firewood, and they're being raped and killed right now as we sit here. So fine words about responsibility to protect. And I really believe in the concept very deeply. But we don't have the commitment to a new international order based on international law, based on an upgrading of the systems that we have to make them more effective and capable of of acting where action is needed.
The evidence so far is that the international community doesn't actually care very much. And at the risk of causing great controversy, I think one of the reasons that some people in the West don't care all that much is that, after all, these are Africans who are a long way from here, and we might be concerned about Bosnia and about Kosovo, but these people are black Africans, and this is what happens, and it doesn't really matter, and let's talk about something altogether more agreeable. And that, frankly, is a disgrace.